Committee of Public Safety. Let the record show everybody's here. Approval of the previous committee meetings of March 17th. I'll make a motion in a second.
Second.
Second by Crawford. All in favor?
Aye.
Unfinished business. I don't think we have any. New referrals for consideration. A is discussion of the update for COVID-19. I just wanted us all to make sure we're on the same page. So, Bill?
I sent you today a PowerPoint that the governor did the other day. I think it was yesterday he did. This has a lot of the information in here on what's going to take place as they start to consider to reopen businesses and that. So I'm not going to read everything to you. You can look at that at your leisure. But one of the problems I see is that we're being lumped in with Erie County and Niagara County, and so we've got to keep pushing our elected officials at state level to try to get us so that we can open up. We're 70 miles away from Buffalo, and I know there's still a concern, but I think we're going to be able to open up safely prior to them. If you look at what it's going to take to open up, is actually
we have 5 out of 7.
Yeah. But then if you have a setback, then you got to start over. So it looks like possibly on May 15th we'll have some direction on what we're going to be able to do. I know we're getting a lot of calls. From people, Little League called me, and the National Little League is telling them they can start on May 11th. I says we're not doing anything in Ole until the governor says we can. The pause order is off. So we've got a lot of that going on. We've got a lot of cancellations with our events here in Olean. And that's all revenue loss to us too. So, but every day today was brutal on the call with the governor's office, and because of the people who are having such a difficult time with unemployment and trying to get on the unemployment, and it's just story after story. And then apparently the governor's secretary came out with a comment today that all the problems with unemployment is that people are not putting in the right information or doing that, and that's creating a firestorm, because they are doing that. And so it's just one thing after another. But even to Senator Borrello's office has been getting calls, daily calls, all of them. Most of them reported in on the call that were in this region. And the horror stories. You got people that are 8 weeks without any money, and they're starting to get their cars repossessed. All this stuff's going on. So they keep saying they're fixing it. It's going to get better. Well, it's not. I can tell you from personal experience. My granddaughter is trying to get on the unemployment, and she got a call, and the guy told her that you were all set to certify on Sunday. She certified and said your filing is incomplete. So it gives her a number to call, calls the number, says please wait for the next available operator, and then it hangs up on her. So this is happening all over the people all over the state. So they're trying to correct that. But the COVID-19, it's the numbers are out every day. The county has you look on their site, they have a tracker there. It's on the counter that's there. You can also go on the governor's site. They have it there. NICOM now has a account on there. You can click on there. NICOM is doing a Thursday at 11 a.m. NICOM is doing like a town hall meeting for Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County. So if anybody wants to sit in on that, it's going to be a Zoom meeting. So I can get you the information on where to go and how to get in on that. So just let me know if you're interested there. and daily meetings, daily calls between Tom Reed's office, the governor's office, the hospital has a weekly call, so it's just and I'm very disappointed in the county. Apparently they have put together or are putting together a 12-point plan for reopening. No one from Olean, no one from the city of Olean was asked to participate in this process.
We're the largest municipality.
Yeah. So.
What do you mean, like the county legislators from Olean weren't asked, or you mean you weren't asked, or like what? Why would they not?
I was not asked. Carrie was not asked. Anybody, as far as I can determine, no businesses were asked to sit on this. I know they polled the businesses. Yeah. But they apparently they have a committee going to help or to put together a 12-point plan on the reopening.
Who's this? Searles?
It would be out of Crystal Aber's office. So I voiced my displeasure with our legislators about this, and so I'm getting together with the CEO Alliance here and putting together. We'll just move forward and put our own plan together for all of it. So it's disheartening that we would not be included. And I'm going to say so. We have a weekly call. Well, nothing's been scheduled for this week, but last week they've been having weekly calls with the county, and they're usually in the evening. But if I get my opportunity, I'll voice my displeasure then too. Like I've been saying right along, there is going to be life after Corona, but it's just a matter of how that life's going to look. So we'll just keep moving forward with everything here.
So Bill, the other person, and I think this is it Kathy Hochul that's overseeing Western New York in our area. Has she contacted us at all, or?
No.
Okay, because I would give her office a call because maybe she can explain. I know I was talking to some of the doctors, and they were disappointed that we were kind of lumped into Erie County because our hospital has nothing right now, basically, and they've been very low. So we're hoping, to get the elective surgeries back up and going because they're losing money every day.
Right.
And I just think our economy is going to take a huge hit if we don't get moving.
It is. They have selected the people in Western New York to be on their committee. It's on the website. Who's on there, and we will be working through our elected officials to get our word to them. We want to be open, so that's where we need everybody as we give more information. I don't know if it would be wise or prudent to put together a resolution from this council.
With all of our names on it.
I might come to that. So.
Yeah. I agree. And when you were talking about the unemployment, I had a couple of people call me, and then one girl called me back after I suggested something to try, and she was told that they have to go on this website and update their information every Saturday or once a week.
Every Sunday they have to recertify.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's confusing if you've never had, I've never had unemployment, but people, they've gone 8 weeks with nothing.
Yep.
And it's ridiculous.
And that's standard for anyone that's on unemployment. You have to recertify every week. But the system is there's just so many incomplete filings. And I guess one of the problems was that they did not have the staff to do this. They trained 300 people quickly. I heard this today that most of them are working from home, so they don't have a supervisor that they can call over and say, okay, what do I do for this? And so it's sad because I'll take in my granddaughter's instance. She was told, okay, you're all set. Just certify on Sunday, and you should have your check in a couple of weeks. Goes to certify, and it says, incomplete filing. So they're in the system. It's just a matter of, so there's no way they have to wait for a call in order to correct the incomplete file. And those calls aren't coming, so.
Yep.
I know, and it's that way all over. Even our daughter in California, she's self-employed, and she was approved, but she hasn't gotten a penny yet, so everybody's in the same boat.
I was on unemployment in 2011 briefly after I lost a job, and I mean, even then they didn't have the staff in New York State to handle that. There was no phone number you could call. Everything had to be online, and then once you were approved, you got assigned a worker at like the Cattaraugus County One Stop, and that was the only time you ever got to talk to a person. So I'm just imagining now with hundreds of thousands of people trying to call in these numbers, and they've got the same staff probably they did in 2011.
Well, I think they're finding that our system is so outdated, you know, even technology-wise, that maybe we'll update it now. The other thing I wanted to ask, as far as the city, how are we doing? Do we have most people back to work, or are we still at 50%? Or
We have brought back most people to. We brought all people working in this building back, and we're not open up to the public yet. So every one of them is social distancing. Their desks are far enough apart. It was just with what happened with the ransomware and we wanted to eliminate the people coming in through I guess it's the VPN. So we brought everybody back to here. We brought back most of our DPW staff, which is DPW is essential workers, and we will have the rest of them back here by the 11th, because we'll be, for those of you who noticed, we started doing some pothole filling today. The plant in Cuba opened up. Blacktop plant over there opened up, so we're doing the major thoroughfares. We did Front Street. I think we'll be doing State and right there. And then on the 11th, when the plant here opens up, we'll have 2 full crews out doing pothole repairs. So.
So there's a rumor I heard, and maybe it's a rumor, I don't know, but the DPW building that the county has at 7th and Buffalo Street, there's 2 refrigerator semis there. And the rumor on the street is that those are for COVID bodies when they deceased. Is that just a rumor, or does anybody else think the same thing?
I don't think it's a rumor. Chief, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, that's what.
Is it really? We have a site. Sphinx has a crematory on Homer Street Extension, and that is one of the. I guess it's one of the few in this area. So
Covers a large area. I think it was basically pre-planning, the event was necessary, and it ships people. That's where they keep them going. It's something that was comes from the county board involved in that. So.
Yeah, I just heard that the other day. It's like, okay.
yeah, it's all pre-planning. So.
There's stations on there, 24 hours a day, there's meals in there. I don't think they're occupied, but
yeah, I think from what it was Channel 2 said, other municipalities would take the overflow if funeral homes up in Buffalo, say, or further than the Foster overflow, that some of our sites would take them. That's what they said on Channel 2. Who knows? Okay.
I've been trying to send you what I feel is pertinent information. I've been trying not to send you everything, because a lot of it is redundant and that. But I'll keep you in the loop as things come out. So, and if anybody's interested, you can usually there's lately they've been at 11:30 a.m. is the governor's call. So if you can get on and listen to what's going on every day.
Is that the same call that is on YouTube and CNN and?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
It's the same one.
Yeah, and you do get a lot of good information from it.
So May 15th is the start of for the state, right?
That's the day that the pause executive order is supposed to expire.
Okay.
So.
But we don't have necessarily a date for our local region.
No.
But it's already definitely not May 15th.
Right.
No, because you got to fall within you got to meet all the criteria they set up. You have to be so many days.
So what is going to open in New York State on May 15th? Because I remember that one chart that they put up the other day where it was red and green. There was nothing that was green across the board. So
I don't know.
Nothing from
I don't know.
valuables.
Yeah.
Now the schools are closed down for the rest of this academic year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Are they
think,
in the center? Because that was yellow, so they're gonna open before, because we're in the blue. They're opening.
didn't they say that construction and,
Yeah.
I believe construction is
Construction and manufacturing.
gonna, possibly open back up.
Then after that, you mentioned finance and something else. Phase 2.
Yeah, but construction and manufacturing was the first.
When do barber shops open?
They weren't in the crew, I'm
You look
sorry.
okay, don't worry.
I can do my buzzer next week.
My wife's getting Uncle Scissor happy.
Hey, you look okay. Stand next to that house of yours.
You and Jason,
Hair's overrated anyway, so.
you and Jason are worried.
Right, Jason?
Yeah.
I'm gonna, Saturday or Sunday, my wife's gonna give me the second. She's done a good job.
Yeah, Jess has been buzzing Matthew, he's like a 12-year-old now. Okay, so any other questions from anybody on that topic? We're all set? Okay, and then Thursday, you were talking about the Zoom, is that in the morning, Bill? The NICOM?
Yeah, so Thursday morning at 11 a.m. the 14th. May 14th. I can send you the, so you know, to click on the link. I can send it out.
Can you send that out in email?
Yep.
Yep.
That'd be interesting.
Okay, next discussion would be on the ransomware. You know, last week when we left, I was more confused than when I was sitting there listening to everything coming in. And I guess I just wanted an update and just to clarify some of the information we were given.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have they given us a price for, or have they told us how much we have to pay yet?
We paid $75,000 to the Monster Cloud, and I've sent you a report today. I don't know if you read it yet.
What's Monster Cloud again? They're the people we hired to fix the problem?
They're the people we hired to recover the information.
The files.
Files, yeah.
But the ransomware itself is a totally different amount that we might have to pay to get those. The way
No.
it works is you pay that amount, then you get your files back. That's not how it's working.
No,
That's not what we're doing.
No, we
So it's
paid.
not really ransomware.
We're not paying the bad guys.
We paid
Yeah.
Monster Cloud $75,000 to recover our data.
Okay.
Do they act as an intermediary? Do they go and get our data from the hackers?
Let me read you what, okay. Once Monster Cloud received the bank transfer, they remotely connected to our 3 servers using Verizon MiFi hotspots. I don't know if you know Wi-Fi, but it's MiFi.
So can I just say, like, I read that too,
Yeah.
and there's something, and whatever, I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff, but there's something about the way that first sentence was read. It sounded like we paid the freaking ransom. Am I wrong? Like,
Well,
once the
that's-
wire transfer was complete,
Right.
they did the work. Like, wait a minute. So are we not dealing with a reputable, like, please?
If you don't mind. So this company is basically a third-party vendor, and it's their business to take care of these things.
Yeah.
They are not going to tell us what they did or did not do to fix our problem. We hire them because it minimizes our risk of dealing directly with the people who are responsible for this. Because what they can do is, you don't meet them personally, or you don't talk to them on the phone. They direct you to another website which could be infected, and you could get additional viruses on your system, right? And you could pay these people, and then you may not get anything in return. So this company that we did business with is in business to take care of this, and they guarantee, or you get some, if not all, of your money back if you don't get your data back. So you have some security that your investment is guaranteed to achieve the goal of getting your data released.
Yeah.
And also, you're not dealing directly with the ransom people, which none of us want to be involved in that. And it's risky, and it's just not advised by the federal government. So we hired these companies, we vetted it out as best we could. I contacted Feds, and we talked about that. We talked to the insurance company, and they charge an initial fee to examine the situation, which we paid, and then they give you a low and a high, and it will be between these two numbers. we'll get your data back for you. And so they evaluated our situation, and they came back with a dollar figure, as the mayor said, $75,000. We paid that amount, and the data, almost all of it, has been recovered, and we're back in business. But they're not going to probably tell us ever whether they were able to fix the problem themselves, whether they paid the ransom, if so, how much the ransom is. They're not going to tell you that.
Well,
So,
ransom could have been $25,000.
Exactly, we don't know.
But that,
well,
yeah,
usually the ransom is much higher than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Right, but that-
Part of what you're paying for is
I
not
don't know,
only
is it? I
that,
don't know.
in minimizing the risk, but they also do other things for us. They went into our system, they're finding loopholes, they're finding what weaknesses are. They're helping Jerry and Jason scan the system. So it's more than, let's say the ransom was paid, we don't know, it's more than that. They're also systems to prevent this from happening again, putting some software in there. So it's complicated beyond my knowledge, and like I said, email that sent out, thoroughly explained it, but probably outside of our wheelhouses for what's here. The good news is that we were successful. We got our data back. We're back up and running. We're still entering in old reports that were done by hand. We haven't completed that task yet. But I'm relieved that we had all our sensitive data recovered and we can go back to the normal course of business. So the money, while painful to spend, wasn't wasted, and we got our data back.
So, this kind of reminds me of a dealer on the corner. It's like, hey, you give me this number to that. It's like,
the way,
it's confusing.
Just-
Doing business to do it.
just the way you opened it though, where you said like, hey, they're not going to tell us how they're getting our kids back from this
Yeah.
ransom. They're just
Yeah, it's
going to
like-
do it.
It's like we hired
Like,
Liam Neeson. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
right. That's what it,
Who's to say,
I know, who's to say that they can't
who's
do
to say
it?
they're not
Not the ransomers.
ransom?
I mean, that was always the theory on
No idea,
Norton.
right?
That was always the theory on Norton
Concerns
antivirus.
about
You know,
what
they
I
were
got
making.
from the FBI was, are they a United States-based company, which they are. They do not do business outside of the United States. And, we checked into, who these people are. I mean, that one of the founders of this company is the ex-deputy director of the FBI. I mean, they're legitimate,
It's like watching Criminal Minds.
The other,
You
the other-
can't,
the other
nobody
good
knows
thing-
if they're in cahoots with these, I mean, this is the opposite.
Yeah.
The other good thing is they didn't reach out to us. Our IT people searched them out.
Okay.
So that
We could have had a choice of who to go to. Maybe what you're saying then.
There's other companies.
4 different vendors.
Yeah, there was. The insurance company gave us,
Oh, okay.
the insurance company gave us a few vendors, but when Jerry, checked into them, they weren't, data recovery specialists.
Well, some of them were specifically in business to do negotiations with the ransomware.
So just hostage
Some of
negotiators.
them were better at recovering the data and helping you after you get the data back.
Right.
This company did everything that we needed done. They did the whole thing.
John, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, I mean, was this one of the preferred vendors that the FBI, someone, suggested that we use?
No, actually, Jerry found this company on his own.
Okay.
Just searched the internet, but
Okay.
as far as I know, when we contacted the FBI, they had heard of this company.
Okay.
It wasn't one where they had a case, they had no cases involving this company, so that was a good sign as well. Everything, we did everything we could to verify it as best we could to minimize our risk. And as I stated, unfortunately for us, it all worked out for the best.
So did they tell us what we had to do to prevent this from happening again, or did they tell us how they got it?
That's what they're working on now. I mean, they recovered the data, which took a long time because there's a lot of data there. And Jerry and Jason, I believe, are still working with this company. It's like in Bill's email they sent out, they're remoting in and they're doing that. They're supposed to try to tell us as best they can, because you may never know exactly, where the weakness lies, where we may have been affected at. And then they also help them to better the system to try to prevent it in the future. That's all part of what we're paying, what we pay for.
So now, Bill, when we were talking last week, how much of it will our insurance cover, did we figure?
Well, that's the other piece of potentially good news I have,
Okay.
is that we had a meeting with the insurance company, actually with Dan Butler, and Dan believes that most of this is going to be recoverable by insurance. So, matter of fact, he thinks that the full will probably end up getting 74,000 out of the 75. There's a $1,000 deductible. So,
When will you know that?
once we get the final report from the Monster Cloud and it's submitted, but there's different levels. There's different levels of coverage in there. So once we get that report, then it'll determine on how much we get. So we do have 25,000 for the data recovery. So so that's at least we're going to get that. But Dan felt that we would get a substantial lot more. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we get 74 of that 75.
Okay, thank you for the update, and it kind of cleared it a little more, but I was like,
Still,
Paul, like.
it's still ridiculous, but I mean,
It is.
I mean, just for, not that I guess it's a moot point at this time, but did the ransom people actually send us like some sort of message,
Yeah.
saying, pay us?
creepy magazine letters cut out, like.
$1,000, you know, in some sort of distorted. I mean, did we ever get an official ransom letter, email, call? Yes. We did.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah. It was. I don't know if I have it here.
But to the chief's point, I have heard that. You think you're like, okay, well, we got to bite the bullet and pay these people, and then you go to their site and they just infect you with more stuff. So I mean, I've heard that happening, so I understand why you wouldn't want to go down that road.
Pay the money and get nothing for it.
Right.
It just feels like we hired, I don't know, Dog the Bounty Hunter to get it. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell?
That's true.
Bunch of dead ransomers on the side of the road. Just-
Yeah, I don't have it in the file here, but I did see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, everybody okay with that?
Denzel.
Okay.
One last question.
That's okay.
Bill, when we get a final report, would you update us on what, holes they plugged and what they, not that we'll probably understand it, but.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you giving us that
and obviously
report
how
is
do we-
not going to compromise us, correct? Just to,
I don't think so.
okay, just,
I mean, I don't think it's going to compromise. Now we've got the data back.
Sure. No, I'm just saying, like, if you tell them where we band-aid, you know what I mean? If they're tracking email servers or something, and we get an email saying exactly where we just plugged all the holes, and then they re-drill the hole back in, or they know how to backdoor us.
There's always that chance, but we are also right now working with the insurance company to up our coverage too.
Okay.
So,
I think that's a good point.
Good idea.
yeah.
Okay, moving on. C, discussion, crosswalk at First Street crossing West State Street. And was this John or Kevin coming with this in?
John reached out to me, and he got stopped by a constituent that uses that. I mean, my ward covers the main center of town, so I mean, most city residents use Ward 4. Post office is there, things like that. So, and when John brought it up to me, it was very. I mean, I've tried to cross there too. There, second, third, you make your way down to fourth. I mean, until you hit fourth is the only decent crossing except for State and Union, and with the roundabout being there, sometimes it's,
Wait, where are we talking about? State and First?
State and First, yeah. Just trying to cross there. There's a lot of cars gunning it out of the roundabout, trying to get out, or coming up the hill.
Coming up the hill.
There's a blind
So,
spot.
The constituent who lives on North First Street stopped me as I was walking, and he goes, "Hey, you're that alderman." And I said, "Well, I'm not your alderman." But he goes, "Well, can I, pick your ear for a minute?" And I passed it along to Kevin. His concern were the number of near-miss accidents, and now, according to him, he said there were a couple accidents in the past of people crossing. 7-Eleven is a very hot spot, he was concerned about people as they come eastbound, going east on West State Street, going up that hill right by the Elks Club or the Moose Club or whatever it is, that there is a shortened visual distance for people crossing on the crosswalk there. People come kind of zooming up that little hill there, and he was asked if I would pass along to put in a pedestrian sign, just a bright yellow sign letting cars know, hey, there's a crosswalk here, just be cautious or be aware.
So there's nothing There's nothing there right now.
There's nothing there.
Should have something in the middle of the road, isn't it, right divided where the yellow lines run down the road there? About yielding to the pedestrians? Did it disappear?
Not there. I thought that was on Wayne.
Yeah, I know the
There
thing
was
you're
one on
talking
Main
about,
Street.
but I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I mean, but that happens a lot of times. Like there used to be one at the library years ago, and then they restripe or they re-blacktop or whatever, and then it doesn't come back. And like last year, I think I put in a request with Bob and to see if we could get that restriped, and they re-put a crosswalk by the library on Lawrence. So I mean, like a lot of times they just, they get missed, or the striping contract isn't for if we don't keep it in house.
No, I think there is, it is in order, something as far as, awareness, because, I'm pretty cognizant of people crossing and I stop. Man, there's times I wait for 3 cars, I'm stopped, the person's waiting because they want to make sure everybody stops, and then, you have 3 people go by before they even realize that they don't know they need to stop because they're ignorant, or, they're not paying attention.
Or in front of the hospital, there's 2 lanes, and the one person moves over to turn in, but they're sitting there, and someone's trying to cross from this way, and the person in this lane doesn't see it, and they just keep right going. So we have a lot of situations in the city that fit that description.
So all driver inattention, because they all have driver's license and they took their test, and so it's all.
There's no retest.
You could put up 1 million signs up there. Doesn't mean people are going to look up. I'm looking at the intersection right here from the street level, and
Do you see anything?
no, there's nothing. But
Well, and
we could put a sign up, and
right,
it's not going to make it any safer, really. I mean, we're covering our own.
right, Bob.
We do have funding as part of the DRI to improve those intersections from Union and State down 7th Street. So that's coming up until probably 2022 or 23. Right now those signs are going to be way outside the parking lanes. And intersection improvements will likely include a bump out. You can bring those signs in, and it'll help compliance, meaning like people stopping for pedestrians. You got to be multiple things. The street design is going to be part of it, so hopefully we'll get there eventually.
But also is the pedestrian. I just went through the underpass on Front Street, and the car in front of me had to slam on his brakes because a little girl just ran across where the crossing is at the rec center. Didn't even stop, and he almost hit her. So, pedestrians have to take on some responsibility too. Yeah. Okay, so we all set with that?
So are we getting I'm confused, so you can put PL in and put one of those lines green signs in?
I want to what's the
Got an email back from the police chief. He said he was okay with the concept.
Yeah, and especially as you're headed eastbound, you're coming up a little bit, and where the crosswalk is, right at the crest of the roads, it's not really visible as well as it is coming from the other direction. So it was asked me, when I talked to her, I don't think it's easily seen by the drivers headed eastbound, so it's not bad.
And then Bob said, your feedback, Bob?
Yeah,
You said it was maybe something to kind of hold over until you maybe can get to the DRI projects?
yeah, it's a first step, but it's a low cost first step. I don't know how effective it'll be, but
it's a step in the right direction?
And do we need a formal PL for this?
I don't know if we want those types of signs. I don't think
There's already a crosswalk there, why would you need a,
It's not a change in traffic law.
it's just like a
Just keep it
nasty
warning
crossing.
sign. I thought those.
Yeah, usually it says yield to pedestrians crosswalk. Basic state law, right?
Yeah. You don't put these signs right at the corner. Obviously, you got to put them.
The arrow,
Yeah.
for the person, the outline of the pedestrian, and the arrow pointing down is what they put it.
Okay, so we don't need a PL for that.
I don't think. I'll ask
think
them
if-
in the morning.
Yeah, if you guys check with that and then just get in touch with me and I'll forward it along to Tiffany. So if we need one.
Okay. Any other questions on that point? No. I have a question for Chief Rowley. I read the article, the people that are going to people's houses scamming people. Can you just kind of give us an update on that? I was reading it and I'm thinking, what if they?
Well, let's face it, we always all have to be cognizant of those types of things. We've had those before.
Okay.
And typically they change from season to season, year to year, whether their wife and kids are broke down in a car, or, you know, the recent one that was in the paper about the, you know, they're calling you and saying, you know, your son's in jail, we need bail on him. We just always have to be skeptical of your fellow man and realize that, you know, things are not always as they appear. So always call. I mean, if you feel that something's not quite right here, call the police department and, you know, they'll help you vet that out. You know, if it's an emergency and somebody's at your door, somebody's there trying to get information from you, trying to get money from you, please call us. That's important thing. There's no way we can keep up on every scam. They're coming out with it faster than we can back them out. So the best thing to do is to call us and knock you down. And if they are scam artists, they're going to be gone before we get there. As soon as you tell them we're going to have a police show, they're going to be beat feet. And, but then it's nice because we can know about the neighbors. We'll go to the door and try to say, hey, if two guys show up in a van, don't open the door.
Wasn't this one, the phone number was coming up as the Olean Police Department?
Yes. Yeah, well, that was one of them. There's a couple different things going on.
So that's a tough one, because if your caller ID shows Olean Police Department.
I mean, there's apps you can get online that will do things like that. You know, these people are very creative, and they'll find a way to skim you out of your money if you're not really good. And of course, preying on the older folks, that's the worst kind of scam artist. You know. Unfortunately, it's usually those are the people that sometimes have their savings and will fall for it. That's why they try that.
Yeah.
They'll probably go off the internet, find out for the registry if who's above 65 years old, and try to target those people.
Yeah. Well, I know years ago we were told, you know, when people pass away, they always kind of check out the address to see if anyone's home, especially if they have a funeral.
For anybody that's got older parents at home, you should, you know, say, when they call, if they're calling you, you can always say, why don't you give me, you know, your number and I'll call you back. And if they come off or call somebody else, and just that amount, don't just call right off the bat. No police department's ever going to call and say, hey, you know, we need bail money for so-and-so. They'll give the phone to so-and-so, they're going to be the ones calling.
That's true. Okay. Any other questions for public safety? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Well, second.
I'll motion.
Oh, no, sorry.
That's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
John, you want to go next?
Sure. I'll try to keep this brief. Where am I? So I will call to order strategic planning for Tuesday, May 5th. Let the record show that all aldermen are present. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous the previous committee meeting. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Witt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business? None. New referrals for consideration. So I completely recognize the current situation, the health situation, the crisis that is going on. So I'm not trying to belittle that, but as Bill frequently says, there will be life after COVID. And so I think part of strategic planning is looking towards the future and looking for opportunities for our city. This discussion is on tiny houses, and part of the reason that I'm bringing this forward, I've had some residents reach out to me and ask whether or not they were allowed in the city of Olean, and I knew there was a TV show about them, but I really didn't know much about tiny homes and or that movement. So I started doing some research, and I thought it would be a good time to at least get our gears turning to start the conversation with the city, with all of you, is tiny homes are now going to be included in New York State's building codes, which are coming out later this month. So Appendix Q will contain New York State regulations, building code regulations on tiny home structures. So I wanted to bring this forward. Again, there's kind of a changing demand for homes and for structures. We know we've got a lot of older homes, blighted homes in the city, You don't see a lot of new builds, certainly going up in the city, with one exception, Linda. But you know, it's really expensive to build a large new home, and so I wanted to give you guys some information, and also welcome any feedback from council members as I kind of continue to do homework on this, as well as residents. So again, just kind of brief concept. What is a tiny house? A tiny house is a small or tiny house falls under square footage between 100 and 400 square feet. What types of houses are there? There are two types. One on wheels, which would kind of legally be considered an RV. So for really the purposes of New York State building codes, and what we're talking about here is about the other type of tiny home, which is on a foundation. Okay. Now, when it comes to tiny homes on foundations, it is a bit trickier. Zoning and building regulations across the country prohibit you from buying land and building your own tiny house on it currently. Instead, you may have to build it as an accessory dwelling, which means a secondary residential dwelling located on a single-family lot. So, for example, I have a double lot at my house. You know, I might be more able or easier to put a small tiny home as a secondary dwelling on my lot if I wanted, you know, my parents to move in there. These can be referred to as you know, in-law suites or an auxiliary unit or a attic, things like that. So really, why am I bringing this up in strategic meeting committee? Why is this something that we should consider? There is a large group of our population, to no surprise, that is getting older. There are a lot of elderly individuals in other cities who maybe are a little bit ahead of the times, and they're starting to recognize that this is a new demand, this is a new potential way of living for people who want independence, who do not want to go into an assisted living facility, who want to downsize, and maybe they're finding the current smaller houses not to their liking. Okay, a lot of elderly people are now transitioning into tiny homes as a way to maintain their independence. And additionally, they look at these as transitional homes for people who maybe are moving from a rental base into a first starter home. Tiny homes can go anywhere from, you know, $10,000 up to $50,000. So, you know, there are obviously some very nice ones, but again, some people prefer to live a minimalist lifestyle. Also disabled people. Everything is on one floor. It's just trying to think outside the box. And as New York State is addressing this, it might behoove the city of Olean to align our codes to match up and maybe at least identify some potential areas. I'm not suggesting the Wild West, where we allow these structures in R1s and R2s and all. You know, maybe we take a look at opening up some opportunities in R3s, or other communities, other cities are actually specifying one part of, you know, the city, the community where these tiny homes can be built. So there's a lot to sync our current codes with to allow for this to happen. Under our current codes, we would have to do a lot of what's the terminology? Variances. So these are things, again, ways to work with codes, the fire department, as well as kind of our strategic planning on whether or not these are something that maybe Olean should consider. So, yeah, I wanted to just follow up. I hope maybe you guys, I sent it on. I did reach out to Ed Jennings to get his feedback. I forward that on to the council. Currently, a minimum width of a dwelling is 24 feet wide. Tiny homes are not allowed, as far as Ed can see currently under our codes. Variances would be required to allow tiny homes to be built. You know, the new New York State Code comes effective on May 12th, 2020. Appendix Q is listed. But if we wanted to allow that, or we would have to make changes to our existing codes to add that to our city building code. There's lots of questions, and again, if you have questions, you have comments or concerns, let's write them all down. You know, send them to me, and I'm happy to compile a list and revisit this. This is probably something that would be a major overhaul. I did reach out to the community. It was overwhelmingly very supportive. Our biggest challenge here is no surprise. It's no secret. We need more people to live here, and we need more people to stay here. So, you know, my parents are getting up there in their age, and they want to get out of their house. They're looking at smaller homes, but they're not finding, you know, they don't want to have to move into something and do a bunch of remodeling. So they're not really finding something in that market. Some opportunities like this might help them in that situation. So downsize, live more, a little more economical.
So do you think that there's overwhelming support for it, right?
Yeah.
But is there actually demand?
Good question.
Because I'm skeptical of that.
Okay.
You've done a ton of research, and that's awesome. And I'm not trying to like immediately, right. So I'm trying to be very positive about it.
Right.
My only concern is like it would have to be super controlled, right? Like, trying to think of it like from like the most negative point of view, right? Like, so some, I mean, you know, all the famous slum landlords, right? They're gonna buy the empty lot over on East Henley Street,
Put a mini
and put 6 or 7 or 8 tiny little mini houses there and rent them out to people for $300 a month.
like a trailer park.
Exactly. And I've always thought that when you see them on Instagram or Facebook, those are always cool looking.
Sure.
In theory, it's like that magical truck that makes the potholes disappear that doesn't actually exist in the real world, right? It looks awesome and everybody shares the Facebook video, but nobody's ever built one, right? The tiny home idea.
Got a lot of pallets in the land. Like I have a feeling like most people would be making them out of pallets.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good idea. I don't think man would. It is coming about. I mean, the house I live in is almost a tiny home.
Yeah.
It is. It's like 680 square feet. And you could knock off the other 200, I think, that I don't use very often. I shower, sleep, and recreate, watch TV a little bit. And
My personal opinion, there is no smaller one-story homes for an elderly person in this community. I live in a big house. I put on an addition on my house to make a one-story. I looked at smaller homes and there is none. By the time I put money into a smaller home, I put over 200,000 in my house. There's none in this community.
But this isn't a patio home, though. These are like.
No, I'm not talking patio. I mean, again, we're gonna have to implement some codes and not make it a trailer.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Like if
See,
you
that's
have
what you want
so
to try to do.
That's correct.
We have the regulations,
Like what you just said, like.
I have an empty lot.
You only have one.
I got 2 empty lots.
Yeah.
I got an empty lot. I was gonna put a house on it. And that'd be ideal for a small, tiny home.
That's exactly right.
But only allow one.
Yes, these are regulations you
Part
put
of
in
the
there.
regulation.
And Paul, you know all the work that we all went through and Kevin went through on revising chapter 12.
Chapter 12, yeah.
This isn't something that's going to be like one.
Yeah.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's going to take regulation, but we know what happened in Forest Hills. There was a concept there that I still firmly believe people in Olean would benefit from that concept. Having smaller, more economical homes. And I keep going back to my parents. They're 70 years old. They can't live in a 2-story house anymore. They want to downsize into something. But as Ron is absolutely right, there's nothing move-in ready available. They would happily spend $50,000 to have a move-in ready tiny home that they could go 400 square feet, right, and move into. If, I guess,
even.
What does it hurt to put forward work into creating codes or updating codes and give people the opportunity? I mean, I guess you're saying we should be reactive when people are demanding them, then put forward legislation to make the changes reactively rather than be proactive and say, hey, we're a progressive thinking community and we're opening up the opportunity for Ron to sell off a part of his lot to put a tiny home on and bring people into the city.
But
we're tearing some of these homes down, right?
Correct.
And we got empty lots.
And most our building code right now doesn't allow for most of the setbacks on these lots. These houses were built like right up to the property lines on some of them, and you like, I mean, if you talk to any of the guys in codes, they'll tell you like you can't, if you buy that lot at a tax auction, you buy that lot from the neighbor, you can't build a house on it. And technically during our codes, you can't build a garage on it unless you own an adjoining property that has a single family residence on it. So I mean, I took the code class, and I mean, even the instructor was like, "Hey, listen, a lot of you guys that are going to go off to be code officers or whatever, or community leaders, you're going to see this in your community popping up. It's the new trend. It's a tiny home." And he sounded hell bent against it, and I hadn't heard much about him. We went over trailer parks and mobile homes and RVs and stuff like that, but he really didn't specify the exact parameters of what a tiny home was, other than they were just a really small home, like the size of a storage container. And I didn't actually expect New York State to actually pass it. I'd actually be excited to read, not excited, but be interested to see what Appendix Q offers to say what New York State's exemptions are on tiny homes. I see good. I see people wanting to build them, and I know if you're trying to plan to move somewhere and say, listen, I bought a vacant lot, I'm going with a bank, they're going to finance me. The bank's not going to say, hey, listen, we're going to put everything on hold for a minute, pause this, and wait for the local municipality to change the legislation so that your business plan can come through. So
about Chief Richardson, what do you think as far as codes and fire department?
Well, I think you got a couple animals to take care of. You definitely have dealing with Appendix Q, seeing what that has to say and dissect it, see where it's at. And then you have zoning. I mean, zoning's going to be your bigger hurdle and making sure that you're not significantly altering the characteristics of the neighborhood, because it's fine to have one or two agree, but then you've got, if you're not conforming to the neighborhood, then you could be heading for some heartache there. But it would be something to look into, because I don't know, truth be told, that I have to look more at that Appendix Q, and then it'd be interesting to see what would have to happen for zoning. I mean, you have, you may have some issues there.
But it's something that's doable to at least look into to see what maybe other municipalities are doing.
Well, you're not going to know because this new code just came in.
Right,
so
but maybe other states.
If they're looking into it.
Yeah, we can see what they did.
Yeah, definitely the one on wheels is going to fly.
no,
No.
RVs.
No, that's an RV.
I just think the characteristics of the neighborhood idea is, I think we're opening ourselves up. Like, say this thing catches on, and all these people want to do this. We're going to be facing a lot of pushback from a lot of neighborhoods. I don't want this on my street. I don't want this next door to me.
Right, yeah, I think you'd have to figure out,
Where?
does it fit in somewhere in our city?
Right.
And where should that be? How would it, I think you'd have to, I mean, I worked as an urban planner for 4 years out of college. And that's the kind of thing you got hired to do, is look at codes, do feasibility studies. Somebody would have to be hired to do it that knows the business. There's going to be people out there that probably know districts and know a little bit about it already in bigger cities. Just off the top of my head, I would think for like safety or the cost of fixing things when they get old and start breaking up, it's going to be cheaper. So there's going to be benefits. And the only thing that really kind of pops right up, because you're aiming towards some lower income or maybe people that don't do their own work, is you just don't want it to kind of fall apart and become blight that you're trying to keep away. At the same time, we've got a lot of things we fight still. Apartment houses that are on top of each other, you have 10 dwellings on one lot. You're doing that anyway. So you do the best you can. Find somebody who's professional that gives some advice.
Well, I guess that's my point, right? We just spent whatever we spent to tear down the Met House on Washington Street. That wasn't doing anything for the character of our community. I would drastically welcome a small, consolidated, $30,000 tiny house that's, well taken care of there than that. And we've got those things. We've got light lining our street, every street. So, although I totally agree, on one hand, that they don't belong probably next to in the historic district, but are there some areas of the city that the community might actually welcome some improvements? And additionally, it's our job to, at the end of the day, I would think our job is to try to increase the population and the users of our municipalities, of our utilities, right? We're always saying we need more users. Well, how the hell is that going to happen? Guess what? Not everybody wants to buy the what is it over here, $4,900 for that McMansion.
I saw that for you. I'm gonna purchase that.
Yeah. Guess what? My parents don't want to buy that. I don't know of anybody that wants to buy that. You want to buy it?
I want the city to buy it.
Oh,
I do too.
That could be additional parking
Yep.
for the
Well, I'm thinking put
community
the office
building.
over there.
Yep.
right. But to tear it down, you want to buy it to tear it down.
Right.
Right.
That's no way to come to us.
So
Park a bunch of RVs there.
I guess I want all the constructive feedback. So if you guys wouldn't mind, email me, pros and cons.
Well, that's what we're looking at now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly it.
And if you've ever watched the show, it's a lot of it is young couples just starting out, or people that just want to get out of a big house and taking care of a big house, and they want to downsize. It's an interesting show. I've seen it.
I'm gonna end, I guess, with this. What is a single person who's been renting and wants to have home ownership under their belt? What are they to do, Paul, if they've got $30,000? Like, that's their budget, is $30,000. What type of quote-unquote property are they going to be able to buy in the city? Is it going to be a fixer-upper?
Well, I think that there's we have too much housing stock in the city of Omaha.
Agreed.
Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to theorize about some hypothetical person who has $30,000 cash. They can get a mortgage like everyone else.
Sure.
I mean,
You build a new house, it's $186,000,
Right.
$200,000, and you got to buy 2 lots because you're not going to fit the setbacks and parameters of our zoning. Sorry, I'm just.
Maybe you could reduce people that rent from Slowboard, from your place.
Better on.
listen, everything you guys are saying, yeah, I get it. All that sounds great. You'd love to have a smaller house and whatever, but it's a slippery
400 square
slope.
feet, I can't live in a farm.
Huh?
I can't live in a
Well,
farm.
yeah, no kidding, and it looks great on the show. But
Yeah.
there's 25 people that put their stuff on the show, and there's 300 million people in the country. So I'm just skeptical that this is going to open up a lot more trouble than it's going to work, be a benefit. Does that make sense? Like, it's a slippery slope to trailer parks or being placed on empty lots, and if we want that, then that's fine.
That's already in the codes that you can't.
I don't mean literal
They can-
trailers, but I mean just
they can place a
I know
trailer
what
like,
you're trying to say.
you know what I mean? And then you got to think,
Trying to be polite.
you got to think 15, 20 years down the road
Yeah.
when tiny homes aren't the fad. Are we going to be stuck with a bunch of tiny homes, which I hate? Okay. But whatever. Hey, you each have your own vote and your own opinion, and I'm just saying mine. And
I have no idea what tenants do.
yeah,
Well, that's what we gotta do.
yeah, and John's done a lot more homework. I've done zero, just to have an opinion on it. But
I think if it's going to benefit as far as bringing people to Oleander, our population's been going down for years. If it's a way to bring people here and say that in certain residential areas, you're probably R1,
I don't know.
so put it in R2 or 3 maybe, allow them there, but
If it's going to bring young professional yuppie types who want to live in their tiny, trendy little homes, great. That'd be cool.
PBR.
But wake me up in 2030 when nobody wants those anymore, and we're sitting on a whole bunch of them. It's like,
Easy to knock down, I bet.
They'll be a heck of a lot cheaper to knock down than.
True. Maybe we should allow the wheels. We can just haul them away when we want.
But I mean, I'm not a big fan of. I've never been a big fan of zoning. Like, I really just, like the Leave It to Beaver neighborhood seems fine because everybody wants to have a systematic, everything's got to be symmetrical and stuff like that, which is a great aspect, but it also doesn't build into the character of a neighborhood. Like Jason builds a small house and Dave's got a medium-sized house, and then you got Ron who's got a single story, but it's huge. It's a huge footprint, like a dinosaur footprint on the earth, and then Bill lives in a really tall, slender house. It's just it adds character by letting everybody build the house that's a different shape and size that matches them, and I get that people come and go, and but I don't know. It's just things are always changing, so
Well, I wanted to just bring this forward to you guys. And again, I appreciate your feedback. Please shoot me pros and cons questions. I'll be reaching out to the fire chief certainly as an appendix Q comes out. So.
We haven't adopted it yet, but does anybody know if Appendix Q would be available on the state fire website? I guess that would be kind of.
Yeah, we've already got them both, so.
Okay, gotcha.
There was no implementation period, you used to get a grace period.
Yeah.
Back in default, isn't.
Gotcha. So it'd be on the state code's website. Okay.
Thank you guys for your time and feedback. I think that's it. So if there's nothing else. We don't have committee reports right there. Nope. So I will make a motion to adjourn. Could I get a second, please? No.
You're perfect.
Do we want to do that in finance? The sale of the property, is that what we're talking about?
I think you can make a case for either one, so whatever.
All right. I will make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the transfer of real property. Is that good, Tiffany? Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Good.
I'll make a motion to adjourn strategic planning. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ron DiPaolo. Alderman DiPaolo. Can I get all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll call to order finance for Tuesday, May 5th. Let the record show that all committee members are present. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting, which was held on Tuesday, April 2nd. Do I have a second?
So seconded.
Seconded by Alderman Doherty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have no unfinished business. New referrals, discussion on sales tax revenue. This was brought forward by Alderman Crawford, correct?
Me. It was actually me.
Oh, I have bad information.
I brought it up because I had a constituent ask why there was sales tax on the garbage stickers and also the county transfer tickets recently. So something must happen where it sounds like Tops and the parking shops, either in an audit or somebody pointed out they started charging sales tax because it looks like they're supposed to. But at the same time, I agreed with the guy asking what was up because it seemed to me like nobody had ever charged sales tax on any of that around here for a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
So looking into it, it looks like there is supposed to be sales tax, but between any of our display of what trash costs between us and the county websites around the tickets, there's nothing stated, and people are used to not seeing sales tax on it, so it's an issue. I think that at the very least, either we need to say that we need to go somebody and say we don't think there should be, or maybe
Advertise it better?
we advertise, the time just brings it up as
Who's
an
selling
argument.
the tickets? The city?
Which tickets are we
Well,
talking about?
can I,
We're talking about any of them.
The dump tickets?
can I,
City trash.
And the stickers?
can I tell you the history here, because I've been I've been fielding a lot of the calls around this here. I started getting calls that all of a sudden they're selling, or they're charging sales tax on the garbage stickers. So I called Casella, I talked to the manager there, and he said, yes, we had an internal audit, and our internal auditor said that the vendors are supposed to be collecting the sales tax on these. So he had their finance person give me a call, and I talked to that person, and they said, yes, they checked it out, and there should have been sales tax should have been being collected right along on these garbage stickers. So I called Senator Burrell's office, and they checked with state taxation, finance, and they said, yeah, if these are you put the terminology in here, it's
So maintenance to real property.
it's I can't remember the terminology now. But anyways, yes, it's the same as, it's, the store is selling a service. They're selling a service. So they have to collect, it's up to the individual stores who sell them it either has to be paid, Casellus either has to pay it, or the stores have to collect it. So, so we went back and forth. I talked to David Reed, him and I had a lengthy discussion on this, and where the confusion is coming in that this is not, we have a contract, the city does with Casellus, and in that contract it states that the ticket, the stickers will be sold for X number of dollars, and then there's an escalation in there that it's a cost of living escalation in there. So it's not up to, yes, we can put on our website plus tax, but it's up to the sellers and the contract they have with the vendor. Okay, now, I've even learned that the sellers is no longer paying a commission to the vendors. So, and they're telling the vendor that you either have to pay this or collect the sales tax, or you have to report it. So they're now starting to. I didn't get charged Friday over at or Thursday over at the Country Fair. I asked Vicki, the manager over there, "Are you going to be charged?" She says, "Not yet. Corporation says until they look into it further, just collect the money." So Reed's is charging sales tax. So is Service Store. And I'm not sure what other vendors are, but we are going to have to start, the ones we sell out of here, we're going to have to start charging sales tax.
Do we sell both here, Bill?
What's that, John?
Do we sell both here? Do we sell dump tickets here too?
We don't sell dump tickets.
Okay, just the stickers.
Yeah. And I know I never paid on a dump ticket at Dewey White's, but did you check with the county? Are they charging that?
So I got Kelly involved as far as the county to see if she could, so she's bringing it up in committee tomorrow night.
Okay.
With the county.
But see, the county is selling stickers for
their service.
At the county, so they may not have to because it's all county. So they may not have to charge sales tax.
There could be something weird there, but I mean, I'm on the low end. But the nice thing about being a small business myself that I have run is that you have the time to learn on your own how sales tax works, how it gets, blah blah blah. So, tax code it's voluntary. You have to know that you're supposed to collect something and then do it. And unless you get caught in an audit, that's the only time it comes up. So,
but it wasn't a state. It wasn't a state audit. It was an internal audit that Casellus did.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, they just.
Which will probably now with all this is probably going to stir a tax audit. So.
Right, because I mean, from the way it looks, from just my understanding of the tax code, is that trash is trash, and that's just it. It has sales tax associated, regardless of who sells tickets and where it goes. And so I have a feeling the county will come about realizing that it has to do with their tickets too. But it's always up to the person taking the money to decide that they need to charge sales tax and then give it to the state. And so if they don't know or don't get into it that deep, it can just be a goof that seems like it's gone on for years.
Because, you called me about this too, and I mentioned it, I pay for a separate trash service, and that's got a tax on it. So most services have taxes. And then if you look at it though, a municipality, typically municipalities offer services that are not taxable because they're a taxing entity. So that's why I specified to you, over our conversation, that the city's contracting out to a separate trash service, so that would make sense that they would have to collect sales tax. But for the county, to Bill's point, the county might not actually have to charge sales tax because they're a municipality, a taxing entity that doesn't have to deal with it.
That's why
Well, it's a county service too.
Yeah.
It's a county service, not like we're doing with a private vendor.
I do know, so I did a little research trying to understand if there was any kind of loophole involved there. And with New York State, the way New York State does sales tax, if you're unsure, you have some kind of weird situation, you can go to basically a court where they review your case and give an actual court decision on your situation, how it falls in the tax code, and whether you collect tax or not. And I was actually able to find an example where a county transfer station went to them to decide if the trash they generate at their facility by the work that is done there to deal with trash is taxable, and the state determined it was. Seems weird to me because I don't know why their trash would just go on the same truck, but the state determined the trash people were bringing, aside from their operating, it's like, so the thought is like, if they're throwing away trash, that somehow they're paying a vendor to deal with it. They gotta pay sales tax on their piece that allows them to do business. But not on, not, and it gets weird because of contractors too. Contractors that are doing that work, they're not charging the sales tax, except, to the end user of whatever service they're providing. And so, if the facility was generating trash, they would then use the fee. It's just strange, and I don't like the way it's written. It's not clear, and that's why I reached out. I figured we could. Obviously, for the city, we're at the bottom of that, and Kelly will probably touch base with someone that will get to the bottom of whether the county's any different or not. But Park and Shop, and I did not verify with Tubbs, but they sell both tickets, and they are charging sales tax on the county tickets.
It's like what Casellas told me that where they purchase the tickets from, they get them over at Creative Mail. So whatever, say they buy 100 stickers, it costs them, let's just grab a number, $50. They have to pay sales tax on the $50. So then now it becomes a service when it goes out to the vendors, and they have to collect. They're supposed to collect sales tax on them, or they have to pay it themselves. So
It makes sense that we have to pay sales tax. They're offering the service. We're paying for the service.
So that's where it's at right now.
So who would be responsible for paying the sales tax to the state? Casella?
No, the vendor.
Oh, no,
The individual.
Whoever takes money.
Whoever collecting, Park and Shop collecting.
Yeah. So what is it, two something for a large sticker, so they're supposed to be getting 16 or 20 cents sales tax.
So 20 cents. So this could, to all the entities selling these things, so this could trigger a tax audit, right?
Yeah.
If these entities haven't been paying sales tax,
It costs some money.
think of all the garbage stickers that go out every single week, 20 cents a piece.
Yeah.
That could be some,
Yeah, I don't know
that could be
who's
some considerable money.
I don't know who's how many places in Illinois are selling them, but now that they're not paying a commission, I could see some of them not having to sell them.
Not even that. I don't know about you, but the credit union, you go to credit union.
Credit union also called the office because they don't have the certificates so they can collect sales tax. So now they have to get that. So.
And that's why I like bringing it up because, as somebody who is a sales tax vendor in business, I understand how, and you can talk to accountants that try to provide advice, and you can call hotlines in the state, and I've heard that if you call twice, you get two different answers on a scenario.
It's like the IRS.
I am an advocate for flat taxes across the board for things. Everybody, there's no loopholes, nobody can play dumb. I know in an audit you can't play dumb, but if somebody got audited and their business is out because they're poor now because they have to pay the back sales tax on garbage stickers, that's getting ridiculous. The world should be clearer than that.
Welcome to the world.
Okay, anything else?
Fred we sent you all a history on sales tax. Did you send it out today? Oh, okay.
Tomorrow is the day where we get an indication of the effect of the virus. We will get our check, a wire transfer transfer, and the way that is determined by the state is you will receive 100% of the tax collected from April 1st through the 22nd, and a percentage of what was collected for the last week of March. So the bulk of it will, well, all of it will be Corona related. So I will send you an email tomorrow. I'll tell you what we got last May for that first payment against this one. I think we estimated, we took figures like 35%. Meetings ago, we had no idea what the effect would be. So I estimated 35% less. So tomorrow we'll find out how close I was.
Did you hand out that document, or do you have it?
No, I have it right here.
And I know the one concern last time, Fred, and I didn't know if you received any updates on, we were kind of surprised by the sales tax revenue we got from the state last month. No updates on that?
No.
Maybe tomorrow it'll be in there. It might be in there tomorrow.
Maybe.
We're still unsure if they
Yeah.
gave us the right amount of money.
Well, I guess one of the questions comes to mind, does, now that Walmart is doing a lot of internet sales, is it to where it arrives?
Right.
So maybe we need some clarification on that also. If anybody wants this electronically, we can send it out electronically too.
What I put down in May is if we receive $218,000, we would have collected what we already budgeted. To hit our budget, we need to collect $218,000 in May, as compared to $327,000 May of last year. So it's just an idea of what we've done for the year and what we wanted to do with our revenue budget.
Will there be an additional payment in May?
Mid-May.
The last week, the last week?
There's always two payments.
Two payments. The big one's tomorrow.
Roughly. Tomorrow for sure.
We're hoping it's very big.
That would be nice.
I can't believe last month the amount that we received. That just really surprised me.
Yeah, that just seemed too high.
I can't give an answer for that because the only reports I get are on a quarterly basis. So the next report I'll get is for March, April, May, which won't be available until around the first week of July. So that'll tell us exactly who was up and down by vendor.
Can you recall, just for my sake, can you recall, Fred, the time that you said there was a mishap where we got revenue and sales tax for Walmart and Home Depot? When did that occur?
I can't tell.
You don't remember?
I know that they deducted it
They deducted
in June or July of last year, but I can't tell you for what period
Oh.
we were overcompensated.
Was it within this budget they deducted it? Is it that back in July where we have such a little amount?
Yes, that's exactly it.
So the June must have been the high payment, July for the balance.
Now, what's the clarification again? Is Walmart in our sales tax district, but not in our property tax district?
Not in
No.
any.
The people,
Not even.
I'd like to believe the folks at Walmart and Home Depot incorrectly filed their sales tax return. And when they filed their return with the state, they gave it an OEM.
Right, they should have.
So it
Problem
wasn't the
is-
state's fault, it was.
So if Home Depot and Walmart do well, we do not see any benefit by that.
Well, where I've been told, in talking at Mike on that, is that it appears the problem is because we have the same zip code,
Okay.
okay?
Oh.
14760
Yeah.
is accountable, and so I think there's a section in there that, I know it's in the town of Allegheny, but also there's that,
Yeah,
the
they're
town
right.
of, the section there, the town of Olean. So if they just send it to Olean, that may be where some of the confusion.
So are we getting any of it or no? We don't know.
We have to pay, if we get it, we have to pay it back.
Right, we're
Oh.
not supposed to get it.
We don't get it.
Gotcha. I was gonna say how much are we stealing from Knapp Creek then? They have the same zip code as us too, don't they?
That's, yeah, and that's it, if they erroneously give it to us, they take it away.
Gotcha.
They don't forget it.
So-
Part of where I can see it happening, when you pay your sales tax, you go onto a New York State site, and you sit down and you punch in, I have to use an account when I do all this stuff myself, so you go in and you punch your numbers in, for what you collect, money made, how much you owe for sales tax, and where it goes. And that's, so, somebody like Walmart, imagine the accountants that punch in how many different jurisdictions in this country, it's got to be the same. So you can see where, and they probably don't have a system, they're not gonna talk through the computer. Some accountant probably has to go in, manually enters those numbers to New York State to pay sales tax. And you're pulling down a list of jurisdictions, there's one for Olean, there's one for.
Oh, there's the Olean address, and this guy's out of St. Louis.
Right, the address is gonna say Olean, but they're Allegheny tax jurisdiction, so if somebody could get confused, they screw up on pull down, we got the money, and then somebody audited and figured it out.
So what is in our area? Like, I mean, obviously, like Walmart's and Home Depot are big, but what makes up our sales tax? Does Dresser-Ran, those ginormous things we see shipped, are those being charged sales tax because this is where it's being produced?
I don't know.
No, those are-
It's a horrible, so.
Got all of our businesses, all of our car dealers.
Okay, the car sales dealer. Yeah. Okay.
You got all that, you got all the restaurants, all that. You got Staples, you got Marshalls, you have.
Aldi's, Ollie's.
All the stores that are closed.
Yeah, right now.
All the stores that are closed.
Gotcha. I was gonna say because I'm in the essential industry, so I've been going in and out of all sorts of hardware stores and plumbing supply stores, electrical stores, and all those guys are like, we're booming. Like even the lady at Walmart who works or Home Depot works at the help desk. She's like, listen, we're crushing it. She's like, there's sales are ridiculous, and so I'm thinking, well,
Everybody's got time to do home projects.
exactly.
I heard Worst Best didn't have any bark today.
There may be some surprises.
Yeah, it's true.
never know.
It's true.
Especially with the online sales.
Ron bought his car, so he's,
I got my scotch.
that's right.
The other
He's
thing
helping with sales tax.
I'd be concerned about is there's gotta be some lag time too, so you report sales tax on a quarter, that last quarter ended February 28th.
Sure. Yeah.
You didn't have to pay till March 20th, so that's when everybody sent in their report, and then how long does the state process all that data and such before they
Right.
send us a check? I mean,
March 20th is a big one because
right, it's not gonna, maybe we're getting last year's numbers, we don't know really when an item was sold and when we got that money.
sure. And
When the vendor reports it, if they're late sending in their tax.
Right, yeah, you do that too, people could pay late fees and
Quinn-
send information a year later.
Quinn's does so little sales that we do annually, so I file on March 20th every year.
that too.
So.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on that topic? Okay, next item is a capital project funding discussion. Tiffany, this is just the general discussion that we wanted to have over what to do with some of the capital projects. Mayor, are you ready or able to talk about this right now, or we still have time to punt on this and not dig in? This is a pretty.
I wasn't sure who put this on here and what it was about.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can talk about a few projects. I think if you're talking here on what we should do with the contingency fund.
Yeah.
Okay. We had in the police department. I want to put a plug back in for a couple of police cars. After looking at the situation, and Chief, how many cars do you have that are going to have over 100,000?
At least two, but now we're closing on three probably.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number.
Now, we had discussed back a year, I think over the last year and a half, possibly 2 years, maybe looking at enterprise leasing to go through some cars. So I think maybe now is the time to come that we take a look at that again and maybe start out small, maybe 3 police cars, and we can keep our fleet going strong. So that's one. I just want to throw this out there tonight. So I'm going to need some of you who are good with numbers and stuff to take a look at stuff and see if it's feasible that we go in that direction. The other thing is we have a project here at the city building out here. We have another situation that has come up with the police department. That we have the recording device is not. It's part of it failed partially because of this. The chief explained it.
The issue is that we have a recording system. Everything we have is all certain systems, and the system is out of date, and the security certificate for it is no longer going to be. I don't know exactly. I'm not an IT guy, but the company that does this is no longer going to handle the security aspect of this. And so when we knew this was coming, and I put in a rough dollar figure in my budget this year, we didn't know the final number, and it's now an issue because we got hit. The IT guys won't put the system back online because that's now a definite no-no, because that's another way for them to get back in. In addition to that, updating the system will make it much easier for the guy that I have doing the discovery stuff to create all the audio files that he needs to create to do his job. So there's 2 reasons to update the system. Currently, right now, we're not recording phone calls in the police station, which has never happened before. And it's a safety matter. If you or one of your loved ones calls in, they're screaming on the phone, I need help with such and such an address. If the dispatcher doesn't hear it clearly the first time, we used to be able to go back and play that back and find out what the address is. We no longer have the capability of doing that. If somebody calls up, like in the situation with the murder over at the high-rise over there, where he made an admission on the phone, we're not recording that. This is something that's not really a discretionary thing. We have to fix this problem for multiple reasons. And currently, we're not recording those calls.
Now, we had budgeted put $8,000 in the budget for the recorder. Then we took that out part of the reductions because in the state's budget there was $40 million in there for because of this new law, what is it?
Discovery.
Yeah.
What is it?
The discovery law.
Discovery law, thank you. The discovery law, we took it out because there's $40 million in there for equipment and other items to deal with this discovery law. So I reached out to Senator Borrello's office and said, when is that money going to be available? And so after a day or so of them checking that, they got back and said that the state is not doing anything right now besides handling the coronavirus situation. So we're not sure when that money's going to come in. So long story short, we need about $12,000 to upgrade the recorder system. So I guess we're here tonight to ask you to consider taking that out of contingency so that we can get our recorders back up and going and make things safe again. And then we'll hope that we'll be able to recover that money from the state when they come out with what we can use that money for the discovery law.
The police cars were 90,000 for 2.
I think it was 70.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
So are you putting on the table there's an alternative to go to looking at the leasing
Yes.
program,
Yeah.
and so leasing 2 cars,
Yeah.
which would
2 or 3, whatever we can do.
which would be a lower what would that, I mean, would we be able to get a pricing, it would obviously cost $90,000.
Right.
Yeah.
What would
No,
the-
it wouldn't
what
cost
would the
that,
impact be?
yeah. I can, I've got the numbers in the office, I can send that out to, those of you who may wanna, analyze it and see what is best, but I think, were you there, John, when,
Yeah.
they came in? And, that may be the way that we start to go, with,
I
so
know
we
the
can
county
get,
leases a lot of vehicles.
I'm sorry,
The county leases a lot of vehicles from Enterprise, including sheriff's cars.
yes, they do, yeah.
So,
They have a huger fleet though, so like on a grander scale, that's how Enterprise benefits a
They're
lot of
very
people.
happy with it.
But we
yeah,
would
no,
get
they
the same,
increase
we would get
the
the,
size of it
we would get the
considerably.
same cost structure as the county? Would it be
You know-
leveraging through the,
Possibly, I guess we could take a look at that. And,
Could we piggyback on
Piggy,
that?
maybe we could talk about piggybacking on the county, yeah.
We've never leased before, though, right? This is all
Well,
new
we've
territory.
done,
I thought we did.
we've done a
in some
lot of,
capacity.
what's called leasing, they call it leasing in a lot of our vehicles, and, but it's actually just a 5-year payback.
Right.
So-
Right, at the end of the lease, you own
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
But with these here, we would lease, we would pay, and then at the end of the lease, they would take the cars and sell them, and the equity would be put back in, with us. And the whole theory is that, they would reduce, gas consumption, would also be, service on them, repairs and that. So that's where you make up a lot of your cost savings in there. So, and you'd have new vehicles, and they'd be rotated,
And
It just seems like all the benefits to buying out our own are negated by the fact that we're buying 70 or 80, 90 grand a year in cop cars anyway.
Let me get the numbers out to you tomorrow, okay? And we can take a look at that. We've got a little bit of time here,
Currently, our garage does work to these cars, right? And so like under lease, there's probably a contractor they've got, we wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
They have like
The only thing we would have to do is change the oil. That would be
The
our,
sheriff's department works is each deputy that gets assigned a car, he or she can take that car to whatever garage they want, go with the oil change, which you have to switch out, and they bill the
the county's, the program has been so successful with them, they have been able to put additional sheriff's cars on. Now, each deputy has a take-home car.
So they've got like a plan together, like a package, like a program like AAA, and they can just go to different places, and those cars take priority in the shop to get fixed and things like that when you're dealing with a company this massive. They also make all their money on the back end when they sell the vehicle, because if they when they buy a vehicle new, they can't just sell it because now they're selling a new vehicle. There's a higher tax. It's like a capital gains tax that they pay on these vehicles. So by having the city of Olean have their police department drive around in them, they put miles on them, and once they reach a certain mileage, they can pull them, put us in a new vehicle or whatever, and then they can sell them for used car prices, but they're almost new. They're certified, you know what I mean? Like they're not taking that much of a hit compared to the capital gains they'd pay just flipping cars.
It sounds like, the fact that our county's doing it, should be good dry numbers to look at. Should make it pretty clear.
I agree that it sounds like a good idea, though I wouldn't always go on everything the county does as the gold standard.
The other thing is, we have,
They're more successful
couple
than us.
issues to keep in mind.
Yeah, and
Also, the
stealing
fire
money.
department, we've got the repairs at the, Station 1 to make that safe. I believe that's about 15,000, 16. So we get a price on that. We've got, the boiler at the central fire station. We can regenerate this whole list and get them out to you, and we can have discussions on them. So, what else, Tim?
That was it for all the sidewalks we kicked there, the aprons. We broke aprons, I think we kicked that one, so.
Yeah, we
further
did.
discussion.
The repair.
What did you have?
The only other one I have to add is in this building, the HVAC control system. We have 15,000 in the building account this year that we can encumber, and I'm expecting that number to be like 50 or 60. Similarly, it sounds like what happened with the recorder, it was on the 2007 Windows system, that's been shut down, so I can't adjust the heat, cooling in the building at all right now. So that's starting to fail the way we thought it would.
Good thing we're not in the middle of winter.
Oh, no, it'd be better, because my office has been 78 every day, so.
Oh, I know, I remember. It's always hot.
So you can't change the temperature in here?
Not here.
Really?
It's done on this really old computer.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know if any of this stuff will be recoverable under under our insurance or not, but we're making a list of what we're losing and what's going on, and we'll go from there.
So Chief, Chief Richardson, what the fire department needs is Station 1 is like that's brick repair, right? Like towards the top of the facade.
Front parapet, we have phase 1 of 2, Bob knows more about this than I do, but it's basically the concern is that the mortise and the joints are cracking, and we've had quite a bit come off, and the fear is that when it's going to come off is when those doors open and it jars that big front door, you know, the parapet comes down. I mean, it's, you know, it's a safety concern.
Sure, it's an old building. Yeah.
That's what happened at the manufacturer building, any building over here. One of those, someone was actually walking by and it fell down. So that's why we, paid to have it kind of netted. But I see there's still cornices, whatever they're called, that are still chipping off. So I have a question though. If that were to happen over at the Manny-Hanny, who's responsible? The URA or the people that are buying the building?
URA right now.
Because they haven't taken ownership yet.
How do you see the 75,000 that has been taken out of the 25,000 out of each fund contingency? Are we acting like we're going to get that money back to be able to put it towards these things? Or
I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks we'll have a fine, how much of that we're going to get back.
okay, because that'll help us be able to
Definitely.
provide guidance.
So on the timing of having to make these decisions too, typically we try to make we've tried to make them before the end of the year, before the contingency account just washes into the general fund balance, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be like that, right? Like or am I wrong, Fred? Like,
It doesn't have to be different.
okay,
We could just pull them out of the general fund after
right.
June 1.
So I mean that's what
If we
like.
don't use it, we'll increase our fund balance.
And then if we wanted to, in June, we wanted to buy 2 new police cars, we do it then, or, I'm just thinking like,
The enterprise thing is kind of
right,
something you want to mull over a little longer than
right, that's what I'm
We've
kind of
got,
trying to establish, right.
We've got every meeting next Tuesday. We got the 19th for committees, and then we have the 26th for our final meeting for this budget year. So we've got 3 weeks to work on this.
I don't know, I'm not trying to slow roll it or drag, thinking we should drag our feet, but
No.
there's just so much uncertainty in everything right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
right? Like,
And you're right, Fred, you're right, Bob. If we don't use a contingency, it's gonna go to the fund balance, and then we can get, taking stuff out of the fund balance. The other option would be is to, with the repairs out here and, the other stuff, odd needs and, the fire department, their needs, and the fixing the buildings and that, we could always, look to bond or, ban, and then, go from there, so. Put together, many of the projects that we need to get done, the ones that we've been putting off.
how are interest rates on bands and bonds right now? Because I know like banks are just giving money away.
We'll find out in a couple of weeks because we're going to reban the Washington Street project and the phase 2 walkable, and we have to redo that by June 10th. So I just got a notice, I think Bill, they copied you, and I'll be putting that out to
Yeah.
bid. So we'll know in 2 or 3 weeks what the rates are. They should be quite low.
Yeah, if they're low,
The other,
I would say just jump on the train, and you know what I mean, because we might need that money elsewhere when other things hit the fan. I'd rather ban at a low interest rate now.
the other thing is, we got the final, money we had coming from the farmer's market. So we got that from the state. So we got the 225. So we're ready to turn that ban into a bond. And we have,
The city match.
or, you got a city match of like 225, so I believe that's what we may have to. So I don't know if we can, take that 225 bond and add other, do other things in there or not, I don't know, so there's some options.
We could possibly, because that will be done in July, so we do have some time. If we want to negotiate, putting some projects together, we could roll it in. At the same time, we fund the farm park. That's all.
Yeah. Anything that's not, like I wouldn't suggest, throwing police cars into that or anything that's reoccurring expensive.
Yeah,
but
it's
anything
groceries.
that,
I'd like to see where our sales tax numbers come back.
Yeah, I agree.
That's gonna tell us a lot.
we're waiting.
And I think we might be better off when we can.
What's that?
You get back paying garbage stickers.
Yeah.
I know our online sales revenue.
Right, that's what you had said.
I saw that on the second, the quarter, the report that they came out with March. Amazon.
What statutes of limitation is on sales tax?
Does your report break that down to tell you where the money's coming from?
We need to be careful how much we spike football.
Oh,
This got every vendor. Surprising.
We just increase the price
So
of
Bill,
garbage.
have you heard anything about Pizza Hut, if anyone's interested in that corner?
I have not heard any, has it been determined, are they not coming back into business, or?
I know in the article it said there are 500 that were being closed, so.
I did get a call today from an old developer who was been developed in the area of the city today, who was interested in doing some things, so, we'll see what we can come up with.
It's not that guy that ran for governor.
What's that?
Not that guy that ran for governor.
Which one?
Paladino.
Actually, yes.
Was it?
Okay. I better stay home when he's around.
All right.
We don't get along.
Actually, yes.
See the money.
He's interested in the area, so we'll see what, We still have, remember, we still have the mall who's interested in doing some things there, and the possibility of the senior living, 4-story senior living facility, which is not assisted living, but 55 and above.
Oh, I get rid of the tiny house.
Yeah.
Tell them to put in tiny houses.
Yeah, it's like a Carl.
There you go, all we're not worried about the tiny house.
There you go. It's either Carl Palladino or the tiny house.
I took offense when you said this was for the elderly, and you looked right at me.
Hey, we're in the same age group, so.
You didn't look at me.
Well, why is it like you either like where that's not a good transition. You either have an assisted living place or a big house. Like there should be something, for people that are transitioning and can be on independent.
Smaller house.
Well, somebody's got to come up with a way that you can have your big house, but in a way that you can start to parcel it off your house itself. Okay, we'll take these 2 bedrooms and sell them to somebody, and we'll take.
I'm not having my parents move in with me.
Yeah. Hey, I have a house that's empty that people want to parcel off.
I do believe Miss Queen Linda does that, though. She does sell out bedrooms like that. So
You sold that, not the other house?
Happy
It's on the market.
Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Yep.
Today's Cinco de Mayo.
for all those who missed it, may the 4th be with you from yesterday.
Warn me when I get home.
Is that it?
Yeah, so chew on that, and we'll talk more about that one for.
We'll send out the complete list, and I'll send out information on that we have right now on Enterprise, and I'll call the county tomorrow and see if we can jump on that, at least with them.
All right, and we don't need to. And the other key takeaways is we're not under the gun to make any decisions right now. There's a number of things we can do so that if we want to kind of play it safe with everything going on, then we can still do that.
I think the only thing that I'd like you to consider is the recording device.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
that's we're unable to record that as a safety.
So is it $8,000 or is it $12,000?
We originally were going to put 8,000 in the budget and then use some money that was in forfeiture.
Well, at the time when I put that in, we weren't really sure what it was gonna cost. We were doing business with a couple different vendors trying to nail down what the cost was. And that was what we estimated it to be, and we underestimated.
Okay.
Is,
So does anybody have any qualms about just doing that now?
Can we just do that next week?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I would be okay with that.
Okay, we'll put a PO in for it.
I can have the specifics for that.
You better.
There again, hopefully we'll get the money from the state on that too.
The body vests, body cams up and running now?
We have 6 of them deployed right now. We have them all, and we would like to have them all rolled out, but because of COVID, they can't come here for full training. So we did a remote learning training for 6 officers. And they recommend you roll it out slowly like that anyway to work out the bumps. So I got 6 officers out there doing that. So far, so good.
Cool.
Chief, any word on that vehicle you were thinking about going after?
No, this will be the first week of the grant release.
Okay.
Be this week, and did they bump it a week too? So, or they bumped the filing period a week. So I don't know if that's going to affect it. It's one of those things you just kind of actually Fred will probably know before I will. He's the administrator or feeding for the city, so that's where the check goes, and they just notify. I imagine it's not the traditional way that usually they notify the mayor and the representatives of the area, and they make the announcement. So as soon as I hear, I will certainly like free stuff.
No such thing as free stuff,
Any
John.
of you who are looking for an N95 mask, if you went through the state came through, the National Guard came through and did the training for emergency preparedness, and they gave out that backpack with all the stuff in it. There's an N95 mask in that backpack if you have that. So that was a couple of years ago. The state came through and did all that training, gave out those emergency backpacks with all the stuff in there.
I didn't get a backpack though.
What's that?
I didn't
I
get
think
a
that was,
backpack.
it was even before your time. It was a while ago.
Oh.
Just before
So
mine.
no committee reports. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Alderman Witt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.